It is 8 p.m. Eastern, and that means it is time for a fantasy football draft, as we do every single day. We're going to hop into the largest tournament on Underdog, the largest fantasy football tournament that you are ever going to find. This is Best Ball Mania, $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool. I've already done a ton. I've drafted, I want to say, 5 or 6 Best Ball Mania teams today off the live stream, but we are in here. We are at a bad pick. We are in here at pick 9, but it is what it is. I don't think pick 9's as bad as it used to be now that you have some pretty exciting options in the 3rd and 4th rounds. Definitely, yes, I would prefer to get, say, pick 1. I'd prefer to get pick 2, 3, 4, 5. I would really like anything but the later picks, but it is what it is. Ledex takes one of the good picks from us in here with us at 4. John says pick 9. We are back home. Yes, I have a ton of experience at pick 9. I don't know why, but Underdog thinks that I love it. They think that they need to give me pick 9 every single draft, but it is what it is. Thank you so much for everybody coming and hanging out with us. Excited to see a Jeep guy. And Rin says, what's your Breece Hall percentage? So Breece is definitely going to be in play for us here at this selection, right? I've already told y'all that I personally am going to rank Breece over Bijan this year. I'm not going to take Breece over Bijan in every single Underdog draft, because if I were to do that, then I'm going to be at like 25% Breece and I'm going to be at 0% Bijan. But right now I have 13% Breece Hall and I have 4% Bijan Robinson. So yes, I am overweight Bijan. I'm sorry, I'm overweight Breece, underweight Bijan. But Gio wanting us to take Puka at 9. Probably not happening. In a lot of drafts, you can get Puka at 11 now. So I actually have a lot of Puka in the $1,000 Underdog draft that I'm drafting right now. It's a slow draft, so it's going to take a couple weeks to finish. But once it's done, I'll make a video for it. We took Puka, and I think it was at pick 10. Or maybe it was pick 11. One or the other. Okay. But thank you for everybody coming. Henry says, will you ever do a big dog? We only have 5.5 weeks left. Yes, sir. I promise you we'll get a $500 draft. How about this? After this Best Ball Mania, the next draft, I will see if we can fill a big dog. After this one, I will hop in a big dog and see how many spots are open. Now, Breece goes at 7, which is interesting. So sadly, we are not going to get Breece here. A lot of times you actually have a team taking, oh my gosh, we're going to get Bijan Robinson. We were talking about being underweight on Bijan, but Garrett Wilson goes at 8. Typically what you're going to see in these drafts is Bijan goes at 7. Then at 8, you don't really know if it's going to be Breece Hall, A.J. Brown, or maybe a team randomly goes with a wide receiver like Wilson or Puka that you're not expecting. But very rarely are we expecting that Bijan Robinson with an ADP of like 6.5 is going to make it down to us at 9. So I'll be super pumped to go ahead and take him here. I'm more likely than not, depending on how this board falls, because it's a unique pick to get A.J. Brown at 9, just going to be taking whoever is highest according to ADP. So we can potentially have a little bit of a unique combo here at the 1-2 turn. But yeah, that team at 12 goes way the hell off the board. They take Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry. So we are going to get a unique build because they decide to go for a unique build in this draft. So yeah, let's see what we're going to get. Drake London off. Okay, now this is fun and this is terrifying. We are going to go Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs out the gate now. This year, it is so tough to make a running back start work on Underdog. The reason being is you get to round 6, 7, 8, 9, and you're like, oh my gosh, the running backs here are great values. The wide receivers are absolutely disgusting. And when you go running back out the gate, you have to pass on the strong running back values later in favor of slamming wide receivers in the middle rounds. So this is going to be nerve-wracking. It's definitely a high enough upside start that I think for sure it's worth rolling the dice on. It's going to be difficult to figure out how to navigate through the rest of this draft, but I'm excited to try for it. It's going to be tough because we're more likely than not going to afford an elite tight ends here, which y'all know in a lot of these drafts, I want to go with like Laporta at 33, or I want to go with Kelsey at 40. In this draft, we probably can't. But yes, I am super pumped about this. And of course, real quick, if you don't know what we are doing, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. These are best ball drafts, so it's not going to replace your main fantasy football league. It's just going to be some extra fun on the side. There's no time commitment at all during the season. So I draft hundreds of teams every year. So I won 150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And I'm going to be doing this in the live stream every single night, of course. So if you wanted to come out and draft with us, you can find that link in the description, in the comment section, in the live chat. If you use code FLOCK when you sign up to Underdog, you are actually going to get my 2024 fantasy football draft guide, which will be out August 1st. And let me explain how you're going to get that draft guide. So essentially, sign up to code FLOCK, use Underdog, deposit at least $10. You'll get my draft guide, you'll get my rankings, and you will get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Good news, bad news, though. Good news is it's available in almost every state. Bad news is you do have to be in one of these states if you want to play on Underdog. You can see the map there, but yes, Texas, California, Florida, New York, all the big states have Underdog. But Glim says, does Malik go that high? Malik usually doesn't go at pick 22, but he very often goes at the 2-3 turn. I personally am not a big Malik Neighbors guy for the reasons that we've mentioned previously, but yeah, it is what it is. Now let's see. DK Metcalf off the board. I am taking a wide receiver here in round 3, no matter what. When we start running back, and obviously on Underdog, there are no waivers during the season, no trades during the season, no time commitment at all. We can't just go trade for a wide receiver. We need to have wide receivers. You can't really win without them. Even if we think that maybe Sam Laporte is a better pick in a vacuum than the wide receivers here, we don't have any through the first 2 rounds, so we're going to have to fill up on them as soon as we can. DJ Moore goes. So, yes, we are going to get Stephon Diggs here. With Diggs, I don't act like this is the best pick in the world. Obviously, you have serious red flags based off the fall-off that he had at the end of this past season. You have serious target competition with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, but it's a very good offense. We have a large sample of Stephon Diggs being a phenomenal fantasy option. So, when we need a wide receiver, I'm kind of fine rolling the dice. And our next pick, doesn't matter how good of an option I think Kelsey is, we are either going to have to look at Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, or T. Higgins. These are the wide receivers that we could potentially take. Now, McBride goes at 38, so it is an interesting spot that if we were to go through and if we were to just take Dell or Flowers, there aren't going to be a ton of Diggs, Dell, Diggs, Flowers combos based off the way the ADP lines up here. So let's see what Storm does. Storm has A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, and Sam Laporta. Really like their start as well, to be honest. They go Jalen Hurts, so we're going to take Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. With this team, we're going to say one of 2 things. One, maybe C.J. Stroud's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, both passing yards and passing touchdowns. 2, maybe Nico Collins takes a step backwards. Maybe Nico Collins gets injured, and you see an expanded target share for both Diggs and Dell. But regardless, will be a unique combo. We need wide receiver points ASAP. We're probably going to continue to take wide receiver at 57, maybe continue to take wide receiver at 64 based off what's on the board. But yeah, I mean, really the question is, do you go Dell? Do you go Flowers? But the answer is we're going to go with the receiver regardless. Now, Foggy coming out says, I am pick 6 in a 6-team PPR ESPN league. How do you think my round should go? Super difficult to know that right out the gate. I will say if you're at pick 6 in a 6-team league, if I get the opportunity to take CMC, Breece Hall, or Bijan Robinson, I'm going to go ahead. I will take one of those guys. If not, I think you're probably pivoting over to like Justin Jefferson, St. Brown out the gate. And then the thing is, unless you can start up to like 5 or more receivers in a 6-team league, wide receiver is going to be so easy to come by later on that I would push up the elite level quarterbacks and I'd push up the elite level tight ends. Probably push up the elite level tight ends more. But Torsten says, do you take Stroud if he falls to you? So 2 different things. CJ Stroud has an ADP of about like in the 70s. So we could do one of 2 things. We could say, I'm going to play it safe and we're going to take CJ Stroud for the double stack at 64 and guarantee that we get CJ Stroud for this team. Or we could say, we have both Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. The only other team that we'd have to worry about taking Stroud would be the Nico Collins team at 20. Do we potentially roll the dice and see if we can get CJ Stroud back to us at 81? So the question in my mind isn't, do we take Stroud if he falls to us? If Stroud falls to us at 81, he is an auto pick for us when we take Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. The question in my mind should more so be, do we reach on CJ Stroud at 64 so we can lock in the double stack? I think more likely than not, the plan will be, I don't know. Let's see. See John in the chat. John, don't know if you had a chance to catch the live replay of the live stream, but tickets are live for the meetup, my guy. Flockfantasy.store. Grab a ticket. You said you were going to be at the meetup, and I'm holding it to you. I mean, I know you said that you were going to have the after party at your place. So tickets are live, flockfantasy.store. And of course, if you want to go to the meetup, it is in Austin, Texas, August 22nd. I will be there. The fantasy domain guys will be there. The fantasy land guys will be there. The fantasy stock exchange guys will be there. A couple people that I think we can announce pretty soon as well. So a bunch of fantasy football YouTubers will be there besides me. And yeah, should be a ton of fun. Really hope that you come out to hang out with us. And if you wanted to grab a ticket, I'm sorry we have to do tickets. They're only 10, 15 bucks. The reason being is I just need to tell the venue how many people are going to come. We'll have free merch there we're giving away to people. We'll have, I would way rather have Josh Jacobs over Jaden Reed, but we have to go wide receiver. It sucks. But anyway, we'll have free merch. Also, I got the venue to agree that anybody who shows up with the ticket gets half price beer as well. So you can make it back in that way. But yeah, should be a ton of fun and hope that you will be there. And like I said, if you want your ticket, links in the live chat right now. I just spammed the chats. And also, it's in the description, flockfantasy.store. Okay. So we go Jaden Reed, as disgusting as it is. Trust me, I think Josh Jacobs is 10,000 times of a better selection. The issue is, when we come back around here, I'm going to reach on CJ Stroud. The Nico Collins team does not have a quarterback yet. If the Nico Collins team had like Mahomes, I would roll the dice that we could get Stroud on the way back around to us in round 7. I don't know if we can. So if we were to go Josh Jacobs in round 5, then we are really not able to take CJ Stroud there in round 6. So it's a really tough spot where if I was in a redraft league, I'm taking Josh Jacobs. I'm taking Josh Jacobs over Tank Dell. I'm taking Josh Jacobs at pick 40. I'm maybe taking Jacobs at 33. But specifically here in best ball, if we decide not to take the wide receiver in round 5, even if it's the worst pick, we're going to be in a very, very, very difficult position later in the draft. But real quick, let me point out that team at 10. That team at 10, in my mind, has a phenomenal start where they have A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, Xavier Worthy at wide receiver. They have the elite tight end with Sam Laporta. They have the elite quarterback with Jalen Hurts stacked up with A.J. Brown. And they have Josh Jacobs as their RB1. I love that team at 10. That team at 10 is probably my favorite team in the draft. Okay. Willow J says you have to take Stroud at 64. He's not getting back to you. Yeah, I kind of assumed Stroud wouldn't get back to us. Austin says here at 10, brother, my guy, I love your team. Yeah, team 10 is looking real juicy right now. I will say, we maybe set you up with giving you Josh Jacobs there in round 5, but it is what it is. Huey says, how risky is it taking Lamb over CMC at pick 1? In your regular redraft league where wide receiver values are easy to find in the middle rounds, I would say it's very risky. In your regular underdog draft where it's easy to find running backs in the middle rounds, or in your regular underdog draft, here the team at 1 gets Saquon Barkley at pick 24, I think it's a great call. That team at 1's very exciting too. I want to say it's a great call to take Lamb over CMC. I view Lamb and Christian McCaffrey, not that taking Lamb over CMC is risky. I think risk doesn't really apply with Lamb. What is CeeDee Lamb's floor? And I know people, including myself, we always overrate our ability to judge where these guys' floors actually are. Like, obviously, if Dak Prescott gets injured, this overall offense can collapse, and CeeDee Lamb may not finish as a top 12 receiver. But assuming that Dak does not get injured, CeeDee Lamb has above average quarterback play. He just posted over 100 yards per game. He's stepping into his prime, and he has nobody competing for targets in his offense. Like, I would say CeeDee Lamb is the safer option over McCaffrey, where McCaffrey's a running back going into his age 28 season. But also CMC has a higher ceiling than anybody else in fantasy. So I think if you're taking Lamb, you're taking the safe route. If you're taking CMC, maybe you're adding a little bit of risk, but you're getting compensated for that risk based off the upside that's added on. Now, real quick, I want to ask y'all here. Did anything come out with Brian Thomas today? Because I have noticed in a decent amount of these leagues, Brian Thomas actually falling down draft boards. Okay. Marcus says, no number one wide receiver in fantasy is repeated since 7 years ago. Couple different things with that. I believe Tyreek was wide receiver 1 last year. Tyreek averaged like 119 yards per game. And 2, these statistics, and it's like the same thing where people always go to like, oh my gosh, being the number 1 overall pick in fantasy is a curse. The number 1 overall pick in fantasy never does any. He never finishes at 1. It's a very poor way to look at it, because say you're at pick 1. And your job is to try to figure out who is most likely to finish at number 1 overall at the end of the season. You can deem that CeeDee Lamb is the most likely player in this draft where over 200 players will be drafted. But if it's CeeDee Lamb versus those 200 players fighting for one spot, the 200 players have a significantly higher chance. But the question isn't, are you picking CeeDee Lamb or the rest of the fields? The question is, are you picking CeeDee Lamb or one other singular player? And it's the same thing where a wide receiver repeating as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy, or a running back repeating as the running back 1 in fantasy. It's that one player versus the rest of the fields. And in my mind, it's very difficult to ever not assume, just based off simple math, that the player pool with 200 guys isn't going to have one guy randomly popping off. So I know people overthink it, saying like, oh, the number 1 pick in fantasies never finishes as the number 1 overall guy, blah, blah, blah. So let me try to get cute with it. And I can't take Christian McCaffrey because the curse. I can't take CeeDee Lamb because of the curse. Just the math behind it doesn't really justify that. It's like a very simple explanation of why the player taken at 1 typically does not finish at 1. But we will go with Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones. Now, the reason we take Jordan Addison, despite the suspension concerns, where Addison came out and went, yep, I know I effed up. If I get suspended, I get suspended. I'll take the responsibility. Don't love hearing that. I'd rather just not hear anything and pretend like it's never happened. But we need to hit on some wide receivers here in the middle rounds. We are probably going to have to take on a decent amount of risk. In the form of Addison, that risk comes with a suspension. But we're trying to turn $25 into $1.5 million. So some things are going to have to go right. Maybe Addison doesn't get suspended. Maybe he's a value here, 81. Hopefully for the sake of this draft. But I have noticed Aaron Jones falling a ton in these drafts as of late. Okay. Eddie says you should have taken Ferguson there, not going to lie. My thing is, I typically am taking a falling Ferguson in round 8 if I think I need to set myself up with a Dak Prescott selection later on. Where we take CJ Stroud at 64 and we're still playing catch-up at wide receiver, I don't know if we were in a prime position to set ourselves up to roll the dice that we get Dak Prescott at 105. So I agree, I think Ferguson's interesting in this round, but when I'm taking Ferguson, it's specifically under the circumstance where I think we're going to be targeting Dak. Shermy says, traded Hawkinson in a future first for Pitts and a future second. What are your thoughts? If you're a contender, I'm okay with it. If you're a rebuilder, it's probably a little bit tough. But obviously, you got the Falcons emoji, so I'm assuming that we're rooting for Pitts here. And if Pitts is the guy you want to root for, go for it. Okay. Now, Dak, Love, Jaden Daniels, all gone. I'm not stressing here. We have CJ Stroud. We have him stacked up with both Diggs and Dell, right? So it's not like we are stressing for a quarterback to fall to us. If we are looking at potential quarterbacks, Love would have been the guy with us having Jaden Reed, but I don't know if we want to be going quarterback in round 9 anyway, with how we're kind of falling behind the 8 ball with some of these skill position guys. Loop says, need your opinion on Jamal Williams. With Miller's injury, Williams has to have upside, right? Thing is, I just have absolutely no idea. Jamal Williams did nothing last season. With Miller doing nothing last year. It's not like Miller was phenomenal last season and that's what held Jamal back. Jamal's an old running back that did nothing last year. You would have to assume that you're going to get improvement from Jamal himself to make a difference. He was drafted in 2017. He's going into his 8th NFL season after doing nothing in year 7. I don't know. Okay. Now, I'm going to take David Njoku here at 105. I definitely prefer going Aaron Jones, David Njoku than like Jake Ferguson, Javonte Williams. Like, I think unless you're setting yourselves up for the Dak Prescott stack, I don't know if Ferguson's a much better option than Njoku. I'd rank Ferguson ahead of him, but I think that'd be in a similar tier for me. And I'm going to keep my mouth shut because there are a couple different guys that we're looking at 112. Okay. Dontavian Wicks goes 110. Wicks could have potentially been in play for us with having Reed. Okay. What is this team doing? They go Shakir. We are going to make the disgusting selection. We are going to take a wide receiver in a bad offense that has no shot to be the wide receiver 1 that just gets a pretty bad contract overall. We're going to go Shaheed for the only reason this is best ball. We need wide receiver help, and he's the only wide receiver on the board for us. So, yeah, let's look at this. Now at running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aaron Jones. Quarterback, we have CJ Stroud double stacked with Diggs and Dell. Tight end, we have David Njoku. And wide receiver, we have Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Jaden Reed, and Rashid Shaheed. So it is what it is. We'll put it that way. I mean, once we go David Njoku 105, almost no matter what, we are having to go with the wide receiver in round 10. I was kind of expecting that we were going to be able to get Dontavian Wicks. Not a big Shaheed guy, but it is what it is. Okay. Dylan says there's Kyron Williams news. McVay said that Williams will get most of the volume, but they're going to be smart about his carry, so Corum won't steal much. I think that came out a while ago that he said that, unless I'm mistaken. Then he says, I just realized how incredibly boring it is in these 30-second drafts when you're at pick 12. Feels like an eternity between rounds. So if I'm drafting off the live stream, here's what my drafts off the live stream look like. I've had to, 1, cut myself off where I'm not allowed to do drafts off the live stream while I work. Because if I'm working, then it's already hard enough for me to pay attention to, like, I've probably over the past week, I've worked 50 hours on this draft guide. It is absolutely killing me. So I've cut myself off from drafting while I'm working, but I draft at the gym. So if I'm doing cardio, like if I'm on my bike or if I'm in the Stairmaster, I'm in 3 drafts at the same time, and it is just action-packed. Bam, 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 bam. Picks happening, picks flying, listening to a podcast, takes my mind off whatever I'm doing. If I'm lifting weights, then I'm in 1 draft at a time because I can only pick up my phone every once in a while. So yeah, very rarely, if Underdog is the sole thing that I'm doing at the moment, unless if I'm live streaming, of course, but if I'm off the live stream, I'm drafting in 3 drafts at once. But Dinky says, in a 12-team Dynasty Superflex, would you trade Kyler Puka in a future first for Jefferson and Lawrence? Kyler to Lawrence, slight downgrade. Puka in a first for Jefferson, slight upgrade. If you're contending, I'd be okay with it. It just typically, I really don't want to go through. I don't want to be trading away future first, especially 2026 first when it's so far out. I do think you're sacrificing some of your flexibility. So if you think that the price is worth it and it's going to help you contend this year, go for it. But typically, I'm very reluctant to sell future first. Okay. Will says, are you drafting more this year than the past couple? So last year, I want to say I drafted 400 or so teams. The year prior, I drafted like 600. This season, I do not know. It just depends on what the next month looks like. Okay. So in terms of quarterbacks, Goff does somewhat correlate with Gibbs. Not a big deal by any means. We'll probably just take A.D. Mitchell. I'm not a big A.D. Mitchell fan. Typically, I'm only taking him when he falls past ADP and I have Anthony Richardson. But maybe we throw a little asterisk on this and we say we'll take him when he falls past ADP and we desperately need wide receiver production. So we'll grab him. There should be some other players at other positions that make it back to us. Now, I know some people would say, oh, and maybe in years past, I would say, oh, we have the double stack with CJ Stroud. Let's go ahead and let's pull the trigger on Dalton Schultz as well. Specifically in a super large field contest like Best Ball Mania, if you're going to win week 70, you shouldn't expect that you have 4 players from a singular offense hitting your lineup. So I am not any more likely to take Dalton Schultz just because we have CJ Stroud here. Now, say I only had CJ Stroud and Stephon Diggs, or say I only had CJ Stroud and Tank Dell. There, I think I'd be more likely to pull the trigger on Dalton Schultz to complete the double stack. But I'm not going to be going for a full-blown onslaught here with Stroud, Diggs, Dell, and Schultz. If it fell to us that way, where, I mean, that's really the only thing that makes sense, then sure, I think we could get away with it. But it's not necessarily our primary objective at this point. Okay. Let's see what Storm does. Frymuth goes. Like I discussed, I'm not super pumped about the idea of taking Schultz here. If we were to go Tua, we can take Gesicki and Odell at the very end. If we were to go Herbert, we could go Quentin Johnston on the way back around and DJ Chark near the end. I think we're going to go Justin Herbert for the reason being that if we go Herbert, I'm comfortable only taking 2 quarterbacks with Stroud and Herbert. Where if we wait any further, I think we're most likely going to have to take 3 QBs. And if you look at the potential quarterback stacks that we would have had at the very end of this draft, I mean, looking at our receivers, Stephon Diggs, Dell, we already have them stacked with Stroud. Jaden Reed, Jordan Love's already off the board. Am I excited to take McCarthy? I mean, I'll take McCarthy to pair with Addison if I'm taking 3 quarterbacks. Am I excited to take Carr to pair with Shaheed? I mean, well, I'll take Shaheed to pair with Carr if I'm taking 3 quarterbacks. Am I excited to take Anthony Richardson? Yes, but he's already gone, So I think if we want to only take 2 QBs, this is about the last round where we can get away with that. And at the same time, Herbert does have the potential stacking options later on. Kate says, I took last in fantasy last year. In less than a month, I have to run a 5K while shotgunning a beer every half mile for my punishment. That's going to be tough, my guy. That's 7 beers. Or 6. 6, 7, tomato, tomato. But good luck, my friend. Good luck. Okay. Now, Tua goes 141. So once we have Herbert off the board, of course, we would love to see as many quarterbacks go as possible. Let's move this up. Cole Kmet goes. One thing is, if we are looking at this current setup, I think more likely than not, we are going to have to come away with 3 tight ends. And that's why I think it was very important to make sure that we were only having to take 2 QBs. Let's move this over. Sticky Ricky off the board. TJ Hawkinson goes. Yeah, I'm sorry if I misspoke with Gesicki. Obviously, Jono is to his tight end. Stafford off the board. Good for us. Like we said, whenever we take Herbert, we are setting ourselves up to go Johnston on the way back around. With that being said, I will admit I have an embarrassing amount of Quentin Johnston. I've made video after video saying why he is someone that you needed to cut bait on in Dynasty and sell him low right after the season. Made video after video saying why he pretty much doesn't have a shot to do anything this year based off historical data. With all that being said, at wide receiver 71, I still find myself drafting the guy, especially on a team where we have Justin Herbert. Am I proud of it? No. Is it happening? Yes. So we'll take Quentin Johnston here. Sherney says, how do you rank Lamar, Richardson, Allen, and Hurts? I think this was you asked me a Dynasty question previously. So if we're looking at Dynasty, I'm going to go Allen, Hurts, Lamar, Richardson. And honestly, I'd go the same thing in redraft. Okay, Michael Wilson goes 167. We're going to take 8 wide receivers with this build. It's probably going to be a 2-5-8-3 build. Burton's been falling. He should fall, of course, now that we have more news surrounding Higgins just playing under the franchise tag officially. Tide asking how often we take bye weeks into play. Almost never if it is a Best Ball Mania tournament where we are specifically... We're going to go with Chuba Hubbard here. Vidal, I know there's a lot of uncertainty in the backfield. I don't think he's a good prospect. Jalen Wright, he's the running back 3 in Miami. Miller, obviously, has been falling like a rock. There's a good shot Miller still on the board when you get back around in round 15. So I've found myself out of this group of guys taking a lot of Chuba Hubbard. But so it depends on the tournament that I'm in. If I'm in the tournament the Eliminator on Underdog, then yes, I'm going to care about bye weeks because I don't want to have all my bye weeks stacked up in week 14. And then even if I get to week 14, I'm just bounced and I have no shot. If it's the marathon, yes, I'm taking into account because that's just total scoring throughout the course of the entire year. So if, say, my 2 quarterbacks are on the same bye, then all of a sudden I'm sacrificing that 20 points in that week. At 20 points in week 12 may actually matter a ton at the end of the season. So I'm taking into account bye weeks in the marathon. I'm taking into account bye weeks in the Eliminator. In Best Ball Mania, in the puppy tournaments, where the majority of the prize pool is just up for weeks 15, 16, 17, there I'm trying to optimize for the final 3 weeks and not necessarily caring about the bye weeks. And I will sacrifice maybe 20 expected points by having 2 quarterbacks on the same bye, or maybe having a group of 3 or 4 receivers on the same bye. And yes, 5 more likes and we'll fire up another draft after this one. So if you have not done so already, go down there and hit that like button. Hit that like button. Let me confirm. Yeah, we're almost there. We're almost there. Bots. Torsten says, what do you think about Deneric Prince possibly taking over the running back 2 slot from CEH? It's definitely a possibility. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has gotten worse every year of his NFL career if you look at just any statistical category. Obviously, right now on the depth chart, he is slotted in as the RB2, but I don't necessarily know if that matters based off what we've historically seen with this Chiefs running back room. I mean, if you just take a step back and look, Pacheco was a day 3 pick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a round 1 selection. So I don't think that this coaching staff has like any allegiance to CEH. Okay. Yes, I will hop in the $500 big dog draft next. And if it looks like we have a shot to fill it, we'll do the $500 draft next. If not, we'll get in another Best Ball Mania. Brian says, we all know Tony is the RB2. Kate says, I got too excited with CH being the number 2 a month ago. Yeah, I actually drafted a decent amount of CH myself. Well, my friend, I'm at 6% Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which is a decent amount if you consider the fact that he is a round 18 pick. Like 6% CH isn't exactly underweight. Okay, like I said, Miller has been falling like a rock. I believe he was the highest ranked player according to ADP at running back when we were last on the clock. But yeah, just somebody that is pretty tough to take at ADP at the moment. Now, I will say there have been a decent amount of drafts today where he's fallen to this portion of the board for us, and I've gone ahead and I have taken him. I don't know what to do here. I'm gonna take Miller again. It's disgusting. I don't feel good about it. I wouldn't recommend anybody do it. I will be honest with you, and I like I said, I do not feel good about this. But I have found myself drafting a decent amount of Miller at the 15-16 turn in drafts at the moment, where the vast majority of other Best Ball Mania drafts were completed with Miller going much earlier. It's the player that's a falling rock. People aren't excited about him for damn good reasons. But I don't know. I mean, Khalil Herbert could possibly be the running back 3 in Chicago. Bucky Irving is a small receiving back that's a backup to Rachaad White in a bad offense. So we'll take Miller. I won't feel good about it. And we will take K. Dotton as our second tight end. And we are going to take one more tight end, one more wide receiver to round out this draft. Decent draft. I think it's very interesting. I personally have never really had a draft like this. Bijan Gibbs, Aaron Jones, Chuba Hubbard, Condre Miller, running back, wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Jaden Reed, Jordan Addison, Shaheed, A.D. Mitchell, Johnston. Quarterback, we have Stroud double stacked with Diggs and Dell. We have Herbert stacked with Johnston. Tight end, we have David Njoku, K-Dot, and we're going to go with one more tight end and one more wide receiver to round this out. But let's go ahead. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see if the $500 draft will fill real quick. I'm going to give you all a second with this. I will definitely leave if we need to. But there are 7 spots open in this $500 draft at the moment. I am assuming that we are not going to be able to fill this. So what I'm going to do right now is on my phone, I'm going to enter in a Best Ball Mania draft just in case this doesn't fill, so we can bounce to a Best Ball Mania draft right after this. So let me go ahead and enter in 1, 2, 3. I just entered into a Best Ball Mania draft as well. I'm going to give us about another 30 seconds or a minute on this screen. And if the Mastiff does not, the big dog does not fill, I will leave this and we'll go over to the Best Ball Mania room. But I mean, some people have joined with us, so that is surprising. Charlie, happy to see, says, Hook 'em Horns, I live in Canada. How would I be able to play Best Ball if I subscribe to Flock? Should I hold Hawkinson as a must draft or stash? I would take Hawkinson in your regular redraft league if you're able to throw him on the IR. If you'd have to put him on the bench and waste a roster spot, then it'd probably be a little bit tougher. And Underdog's available in Canada, everywhere outside of Ontario. On flockfantasy.com, we don't have any best ball drafts. It's all on Underdog, my friend. But if you're asking, like, if you can get the draft guide on flockfantasy.com, yeah, the draft guide should be on flockfantasy.com if that's what you're saying. But it looks like the big dog is most likely not going to fill. So I am going to leave this, and we are going to go over to the Best Ball Mania draft that we have already entered in. And yeah, we are in a zillion slow drafts right now. So we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to find this Best Ball Mania. Where are you? Okay, we are in. And no, that's the wrong draft. Wrong draft there. Okay. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the difficulties. But you know what they say. Mason is not smart. I think we've all learned that by now. Okay, now let's move this back over. Bam, we are in the actual draft we need to be. And we can pull this back up. And this is not the $500 draft. I left the $500 draft room. This is a $25 Best Ball Mania draft. So let me update this. And we take Tyreek Hill in round 1. Not much to discuss. Tyreek, 119 receiving yards per game last season. I'm not going to take him over Lamb. Given the age that you have with Lamb, I think you have fewer questions surrounding him. But it is what it is. Okay. In the other draft, I'm trying to figure out who we want to be going with right now. Might as well waste another pick on Odell. But Pablo says, thanks for the content, my man. Why do you think A.J. Dillon's ADP is so low? Had a decent year last year and may easily be the third down goal line back. So the thing with A.J. Dillon is the reason why people would have drafted him last year, and this is the argument to draft A.J. Dillon. And oh my gosh, look at how many red badges are in this draft. But the reason to draft A.J. Dillon is, and this is from last season, he's going to have a role alongside Aaron Jones. And if Aaron Jones were to go down, A.J. Dillon could potentially be an RB1. And what did we see last season? We saw Aaron Jones go down. We saw the best case scenario for A.J. Dillon where he was healthy in a good offense and he had every single touch to himself in that backfield. And you know what I did in that instance? I went to the rooftops and I screamed, hey, everybody go start A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon's about to get a 3-down workload in a very good offense, blah, 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 blah. You know what A.J. Dillon did? Diddly, zip, squat, nothing. So we've seen the upside of A.J. Dillon, even in games where he has the entire workload. He was not startable last year, and I started him, and I got punished for it. Now you have a younger running back that historically has been a 3-down bell cow coming in with Josh Jacobs. Jacobs gets paid all the money, and Marshawn Lloyd selected in round 3. So even best case scenario for A.J. Dillon, Josh Jacobs goes down with an injury. Instead of A.J. Dillon getting the 3-down workload like he saw a year ago, which he failed with, he's more likely not going to see a committee workload alongside Marshawn Lloyd, which God knows he can be excited about that. Okay. So yeah, I've seen some people mixing in A.J. Dillon in round 18. I don't see the appeal for it. Obviously, it'd be very different if they didn't take Marshawn Lloyd. So honestly, before the NFL draft, I was taking some super late A.J. Dillon. But once they take Marshawn Lloyd round 3, it's like, okay, I can't do anything here. Okay. Now, has there been anything interesting in this draft? The team at 12 goes with the unique build of Harrison Debo. The team at 10 reaches on Barkley. Team at 7 reaches on Brees. Oh, that's JRV. But all in all, not super interesting. I'm going to try something new here. So obviously, a lot of people are going to take Waddle. A lot of people are going to take Achane. And I think, honestly, you can make a strong argument. And if you look at my rankings in the draft guide, I'm going to have Waddle ranked over Smith. I think it's a very strong argument that Mason Smith is a bad pick here. I'd agree with you. In a vacuum, if we were just playing in this 12-team league. But with the overall concept that we are wanting to have a unique build, Devonta Smith is a player that throughout the entire offseason has exclusively been a round 3 pick. Kyren Williams, pretty much since the NFL draft, has been a round 3 pick in these underdog contests. So I think we are sacrificing a little bit of our median projection by taking Smith over Waddle and Evans. But the issue is if we go Tyreek Evans Kyren or Tyreek Waddle Kyren, there are going to be a lot of other teams in the tournament that have that same start. And if we just sacrifice a tiny bit of our median projection to go with Devonta Smith there at pick 22 instead, I think that we can have a very unique build compared to the rest of the field with Tyreek, Smith, and Kyren. And with the way that these ADPs line up, this isn't going to be a situation where we're trying to get unique and then all of a sudden we're just crushed by another squad. Because like, say you look at the draft that we just did. That team at 12 took Derrick Henry at the 1-2 turn. And you're like, okay, even if Derrick Henry crushes, if you take him at pick 13, there are going to be other teams in this tournament that get him at pick 36 that just pair him with round 1 picks, and you are just crushed. Here, the thing is, That's not really going to be something you have to worry about with Devonta Smith, Kyron Williams, because they're never making it to the late 4th round. They're never going to be making it that far in any draft. So I think it's a unique build where we don't have to worry about any other rosters looking like juggernauts compared to ours. We only have to sacrifice a little bit of our median projection at the end of the 2nd round to do so. It is what it is. And yes, I do love Kyron Williams, round 3. I do love Kyron, round 3. Vinny says, wonder if Mason has more A.J. Dillon or Alexander Madison shares. I have more Alexander Madison than A.J. Dillon this year. I have mixed in a little bit Alexander Madison around 18. I don't want to admit it to y'all, but I'll give you the number right now. And, of course, real quick, if you're confused about what's going on, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. I'm sure you've heard me say this a million times, but just to let you know, these are best ball drafts, so there's no time commitment at all during the season. It's how I draft 100 teams every year. It's how I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And if you use code FLOCK on Underdog, you will get my 2024 fantasy football rankings, my 2024 fantasy football draft guide, and a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. But as I pull this up, a real quick side note, Alexander Madison, I thought I had him in a lot. I have him 1% of drafts, $53 of entry fees. But anyway, so I'm going to be dropping our draft guide August 1st. One, it will be on flockfantasy.com for everybody that's a member of flockfantasy.com. And 2, if you had signed up with code FLOCK on Underdog in 2024, if you made an Underdog account in 2024 and on that account made a $10 deposit with code FLOCK, August 21st, if I can set up the email system correctly, you should be receiving an email from yours truly with the draft guide, all the rankings, and everything that you want. I'm probably going to ask in that email for you to respond to it if you want consistent updates. And then every week throughout August, every Sunday, I'm going to get y'all a draft guide 2.0 with updated rankings, updated news, etc., a draft guide 3.0, a draft guide 4.0. So if you use code FLOCK on Underdog in 2024 for a new account, you deposited $10 and you will get the draft guide, you will get the rankings. You'll just have to check the email that your account is associated with. Okay. Now, let's swing this back around. McBride goes, so we will take George Pickens here. I mean, Pickens very rarely falling to this side of the board, and we did take Kyron in round 3, so it's not like we can completely disregard wide receiver at this point. Lamar goes 47. Etienne goes 48. I would have loved to have Etienne make it back around to us 51. Keenan 49. I'm going to assume that Andrews goes. And then we're going to take Dalton Kincaid here at 51. I know we put out all that research saying like, oh yeah, the Bills' uncertain wide receiver room, probably a good idea to draft Keon Coleman at cost based off what we've historically seen with pass catchers in great offenses in fantasy. And a lot of comments were, well, Mason, I don't think we should draft Keon Coleman. Instead, we should draft Dalton Kincaid. My response to that is, I agree with you. Kincaid is a phenomenal option. And I'm going to draft as much Dalton Kincaid as I possibly can. Okay. Josh Jacobs goes. Anthony Richardson off the board, 53. And if we didn't take Kyron at 27, I think we'd have been more inclined to take Jacobs at 51. Okay, Loop says, what do you think about week 16 correlation compared to week 17? I feel like week 16 is more important. I think in the list of importance of things that you should be paying attention to in your underdog drafts, week 16 and 17 correlation is important in certain contests, but not super high on the list. I think specifically in Best Ball Mania, week 16 and 17 correlation in the form of your bringbacks does make sense this season, given the fact that there's no prize pool for the regular season scores, and instead the only prize pool is for weeks 15, 16, 17. I think week 16, 17 correlation does not apply to eliminators, obviously, Marathon, obviously. I don't really think it applies to the sprint either. Shouldn't apply to any private draft contest on Underdog. It shouldn't apply to the big dog contest. It shouldn't apply to the Mastiff contest. Shouldn't apply to any of the single entry smaller field contest. But I don't talk a lot about week 16, week 17 correlation on Underdog is the current tournaments that it actually applies to at the moment that are live on Underdog right now. Like I said, doesn't apply to the sprint, doesn't apply to the marathon, doesn't apply to the eliminator, doesn't apply to the Mastiff. It applies to Best Ball Mania. It applies to the Slow Puppy. It doesn't apply to the Bulldog. It possibly applies to the Corgi, not a big way. It doesn't really apply to the Big Dog. It does apply to MMG, and it doesn't apply to weekly winners. So I think overall, the week 16, 17 correlation in the form of your bringbacks holds importance with certain contests on Underdog, but it's not, you shouldn't be making it the most important thing you focus in on. Dylan says, are you going to do videos on draft guides for redraft leagues such as Yahoo and ESPN? Yeah, so the draft guide is made for redraft leagues. The draft guide's not made for Underdog leagues. And yeah, of course I'm going to make redraft videos. Pretty much all the videos we make can be applied to redraft. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Rashad White, pick 70. White, obviously a running back that was inefficient with a large workload last season. The thing is, the large workload's probably going to stay where they only bring in Bucky Irving. And White had a massive role as a receiver last year as well. So I think that is safe to project this next season. Stroud, not really going to be in play for us here where we don't have any of the Texans guys. Okay, Ladd goes off the board. Not a big Deontay guy with how bad the offense should be. I'm actually probably going to reach on Keon Coleman here and just continue to get exposure to good offenses. Let's double down on Buffalo now with Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid. Okay. See. The Almighty Hat Stencher says, just started off a draft with AJ Brown and Gibbs at pick 11. That's awesome, my guy. Now, after we go Keon, JSN, Aaron Jones, Deontay Johnson all off the board. I like our team. I think it's a well-balanced team. The issue we're going to have is obviously Jalen Hurts is already gone for Devonta Smith. Obviously, Josh Allen's already gone for Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman. So our quarterback stacking options later on are a little limited. Now, what's worth pointing out is the team that has Waddle will be on the other side of us. So if we are planning on stacking Tyreek with Tua, let's check out where the ADP for Tua is. Tua's ADP is 125. So we're going to have an interesting situation where Tua's ADP is 125. So we're either at pick 118 and 123, only going to take him at 118, or maybe pass on him at 123 and roll the dice that he makes it back to us at 142, because the Waddle team's sitting there at pick 119 and 122. So the Tua equation's going to be interesting. I kind of lean on the side of maybe with this build because we don't, at the moment, don't really have too many exciting quarterback plays. It may make sense to reach on Tua. So let's just rate my team. Stroud, Brees, Henry, Benson, Spears, St. Brown, Pittman, London, Higgins, Hollywood, Samuel, Palmer, Ferguson. It's a 10-team PPR. Having St. Brown and Brees on the same squad obviously just gives you such an advantage compared to the rest of the fields. I really like the team. I don't know if trades are open in your league. I'd be interested in seeing if we could pair like Hollywood and Henry and go get a running back upgrade in a full PPR format in particular. Like see if we can pivot over to Saquon Barkley. But I think it's a great team. Okay. Now DeAndre Swift off the board at 90. Ferguson goes 91. I would have loved to have Ferguson at 94. If we could have gotten Ferguson at 94, then all of a sudden we could have turned around and taken Dak in round 9 potentially. Such a tough spot. What are we going to do here? Bowers goes 92. Burrow off. I really have no idea what to do. We could go Love and potentially look at Dontavian Wicks later. We could go Dak and look at. I'm going to take Moster. I don't feel good about it. We have the report coming out saying that Chase Brown was getting a ton of snaps with the starters right now. So I think for that reason, maybe you need to push down Moss just a tiny bit. Moss goes 95. I'm assuming Dak goes here to the CeeDee Lamb team. Even though the Lamb team has the Lamar Andrews stack. They decide not to take Dak Prescott. Brandon Cooks, ADP 114. We'd be rolling the dice to see if we could get him at 118. Okay. Sutton goes 97. I just don't know what to do. We could go with... I have no idea what to do here. We're going to take Dak. We don't have too many stacking options at the moment. I think we take Dak, and then we hope that we get Brandon Cooks on the way back around. The other option's Jaden Daniels, because if we whiff on the Jaden Daniels stack, at least we can make the argument that he is rushing upside and could see spike weeks based off of that. But if we go Dak, we can look at Brandon Cooks on the way back around. If we whiff on Brandon Cooks, we could go Jalen Tolbert at the end. It's not great. I'm not going to lie to you. Probably a mistake. But it is what it is. Marker Word, happy to see you, my guy. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, I know the Tolbert news was he looked really good his first day in camp. I don't know if anything else has come out. If we hit 500 likes on the live stream, we'll fire up another draft. I have no idea how many we're at right now, but it's... If we hit 5... Honestly, I just pulled it up. It looks like we ended at 500. Sneckmatch says, rate the Underdog weekly winners. I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. I have no idea how to play weekly winners on Underdog. I mean, obviously, I know what to do. I just don't know the correct strategy. But Stroud, Dak, Montgomery, Brian Robinson, Zeke, Dowdle, Hubbard, Herbert, Lamb, Collins, Ayuk, Dell, Brian Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Johnson, Otten, Gesicki, Hayden Hurst. Looks like a decent regular team on Underdog. My thing is I just don't know how to win weekly winners. I would love to know if anybody else in the live chat has strong opinions on this. I love the Lamb, Collins, Ayuk start out the gate in Dell. Looks like a super unique build, but I don't know. But here, the dog's scratching. Let me let her in. Get in here. What are you doing? What are you doing? The dog really wants to say hi. You want to tell everybody hi? You want to tell everybody hi? I know. Come here. I know. I know. Come over here. Come up here. Say, what's up, everyone? Say, use code FLOCK on Underdog. Get the draft guide. I know you're a good girl. Okay. Surprising to see Daniels love Purdy to fall this far in the draft for him. Brandon Cooks going 111. Obviously not great for us, like we discussed when we rolled the dice on taking Dak Prescott there. We're kind of hoping that we were going to get Brandon Cooks on the way back around. So when that doesn't happen, it's not a super fun spot to be in. But the thing is, like, who are other quarterback options? Like, obviously we have Tua here, not 11, around 12. But beyond that, we have Russ in round 18. Even if we would have gone with Jordan Love in the last round, I mean, maybe Romeo Doubs makes it to us, but Wicks wouldn't have. Caleb Williams goes 116. Wicks has been a big-time riser, and Dobbs has been a big-time faller. And we actually made the video, I want to say, almost 2 months ago, where we looked at these guys. I put it out when we were in France. And my read on it was Wicks was a way better value than Dobbs at the time. Oh, dear God. What are we doing here? I think we're going to take Jacoby Myers. On the way back around, I'm probably going to take Ezekiel Elliott and say, oh, he had 51 receptions last year. What if we live in a world where in week 16, Dak throws for 3 passing touchdowns, one of them goes to Zeke, and Zeke somehow takes a serum where he's athletic again, he breaks off a long receiving touchdown? Obviously, we're living in a fairy tale world when we tell that story, but kind of need to live in a fairy tale world if you're going to turn $25 into $1.5 million. So Judy goes 121. Tua goes 122. Yeah, so the Tua dream does not come real for us. I think we take Zeke, we go Tolbert later on, and we try to come up with some fake story about Zeke's receiving role in Dallas leading to correlation with Dak Prescott. But I don't love this team. It is what it is. Wide receiver, we have Tyreek, Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Keon Coleman. Running back, we have Kyron Williams, Rashad White, Raheem Mostert, Ezekiel Elliott. Tight end, we have Dalton Kincaid. Quarterback, we have Dak Prescott. The offenses we're kind of in on at the moment are Miami with Tyreek and Mostert, Buffalo with Kincaid and Keon, and Dallas with Dak and Zeke. Now, are these great correlating assets? Probably not. But we can pretend. We can pretend, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Now, we have 4 running backs, too, so we're only going to take 1 more running back in this entire draft. So I would not mind to see some running backs off the board here. But to be honest, as I sit here and say, like, I don't love our team. I don't like our team at all. I don't necessarily know where we could have gone different. I'd like our move at the 2-3 turn and get very unique with this build and going Smith and Kyron and setting us up with a good structure later on. Maybe the move is to ignore the falling George Pickens value at 46 and just understand, Mason, your favorite started drafts right now is Lamar Andrews at the 4 or 5 turn after wide receiver Kyron. So I think what could have made this draft better, looking back with hindsight, is going for the Lamar Andrews stack at pick 46, 51. Then that would have allowed us to not be forced to take Dak where we do. Instead, would probably be forced to take a wide receiver. The wide receiver would have been Shaheed or Shakir. I don't know if we're excited about that. So honestly, even looking back there, I don't know if that's the solution. I think this is just the way the board fell to us. I don't necessarily know how. Many other options we could have had. Alex says Dak pick was the only wrong pick. The thing with the Dak pick is, what would have been a better decision? To go Tony Pollard, to go with our 4th running back there, and then all of a sudden just get completely boxed out of QB? is the thing with the Dak pick at 99 is, one, we can still go Tolbert later on, but the big hope is you get Brandon Cooks on the way back around 10. And if you look at the potential stacks that we had previously on this roster, we had kind of already gotten sniped on all of them. So it's like we need some quarterback production. Charbonnet off the board, 136. When we can only take one more running back, obviously I'm not stressing about RBs getting drafted. Okay. Jalen Polk, Xavier Legette, both off. This may be a super exciting Justin Herbert, Quentin Johnston team again. Whew. Strap in, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be exciting. Dinky says, 12-team Dynasty Superflex, Kyler and Puka for Allen in a third. Ooh, interesting. My other quarterback's Mahomes. Other receivers are Ayuk, Tank, Rasheed, Deontay. If it's a starter 10 or more league, I think you make an argument for Kyler and Puka. If it's a start 9 or fewer, I think you just go Josh Allen. Whatever you do, don't consider the third in it. It's would you rather have Josh Allen or Kyler and Puka? And I think kind of it comes down to the importance of depth in your league with the form of your starting lineup requirements. We'll go Josh Downs. We need a receiver. Don't love Downs, but it is what it is. I mean, don't love any of the receivers in this range. Could have gone Cousins, Darnell Mooney here at the 12-13 turn. Like, Mooney does get paid like $30-something million to go over to Atlanta. Okay, Deshaun, Lloyd both go. Could go Stafford and pretend like, oh, yeah, this is a team where Dak stacked up with Zeke and Stafford's paired up with Kyron. Obviously, don't want to do that, but would be funny. So this has been a decision that's been a difficult thing for me to figure out. Really for the past month, where you've had Musgrave and Hawkinson going back to back. I've kind of gone back and forth with the decision of which tight end we want to be taking where. And I think I've kind of figured out when we want to be going Musgrave and when we want to be going Hawkinson. If we are putting ourselves in a position that we only want to take 2 total tight ends, I think the decision is to go ahead and take Luke Musgrave and just lock in the actual production and the actual targets, snaps, whatever you want to call it. Whereas if instead the plan is maybe to go through and take a total of 3 tight ends based off our build, there we can roll with TJ Hawkinson and use his ceiling for the final 3 weeks. So it's very tough. I think I made the mistake in the $500 big dog draft that we were in, where I think we took Andrews in round 5, and then when we had this decision in round 13, because I do like both these tight ends at their cost. I think we ended up going with Hawkinson, but I think it was a mistake, specifically when you have Kincaid, Andrews, McBride, and you only want to take 2. I think I'd rather have Musgrave. And then if this is like our first tight end and we're going to go with another tight end around 17 and 18, then I'm going to go Hawkinson because we need the ceiling. Okay. No, let's move this over. And now we are done drafting tight ends when we make that decision. So, I mean, if we're looking at quarterbacks coming up, there's Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. Neither guy correlates with this roster. So going back to what we were talking about with our Dak Prescott decision, it's like this is the situation I knew I was going to be in this draft, where we were just kind of completely boxed out a quarterback based off of how the board's fallen. So we just kind of wanted some points in at quarterback with Dak. And this may be a spot where we end up having to take 3 QBs and go with like Justin Fields or Russell Wilson in round 17, round 18. And then I God knows what else. If Adam Thielen falls to us here, maybe go Adam Thielen so we can set up a Bryce Young pick. Gross. But I can't even follow along with y'all in the chat. I have no idea what's going on in the chat right now. Okay, Demario Douglas goes pick 160. Hunter Henry 161. Hunter Henry obviously not in play for us when we have our 2 tight ends. And one of those tight ends is Kincaid. I don't mind taking like Jalen Wright on a Raheem Mostert team just because we can make the case, oh, what happens if Achane goes down? And then both Mostert and Wright see the expanded roles in Miami. Wright ends up getting drafted. Dobbins gets drafted. We could go Wan'Dale Robinson and take Daniel Jones as well. Could go Baker and take Jalen McMillan. No matter what, we still need to take Jalen Tolbert here. The teams between us only have 3 running backs. So what I made... No, I'm not going to take Ray Davis. We already have 2 Bills. Really awkward spot. What are we doing? Do we just take Adam Thielen? We're going to take Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, wide receiver 7. I think this sets up a Bryce Young pick near the end of this draft. And we're going to take 2 more quarterbacks. We're going to take, we have 15, 16, 17, 18. We're going to go 2 more QBs, 1 more running back, 1 more wide receiver. I just know y'all are going to sign me on Tolbert. I'm going to take an injured Condre Miller. I know this is back-to-back drafts. Like I've said, I've taken a lot of him in round 15 today. It's embarrassing. I don't know why I can't help but taking the falling guy in these rooms, just when I know that the rest of the field is obviously going to have exposure to him, but just at a higher price. And looking at my underdog exposure to Miller now with how much we've taken him over the past 2 days, I'm up to 9%. So previously, I think we were at 6-7%. But I don't know. I don't even like him as a prospect. It's not a good offense. So I don't know why I'm taking him here, to be honest. Okay. It's 500 likes for a 3rd draft if y'all want to see me try to redeem ourselves for this one. And it looks like we may actually get there. Dear God. This dog is going to have to wait a little bit longer to go outside. So if y'all are wanting another draft, hit the like button. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And Malachi Corley goes 179. So I think our plan here at the turn is going to be going like Bryce Young and Jalen Tolbert. Just finishing the stacks off. And then, like I said, we can go with either Fields or Russ in round 18. Yes, football season's coming. I'm going to have to start eating before we do the live streams. I have no idea what I'm going to eat for dinner now. Dear God. Okay. And what we need is we need these 20-second drafts back. That way we can rip through these faster. Now, Herbert, Estime both go. So we are wide receiver, quarterback. Drake May off the board. Luke McCaffrey, Tyrone Tracy. Miller was just probably not the pick there. What running back is available now? We could have gone Roschon. Like, what's the difference between Roschon and Miller? The only one is Miller was drafted higher all offseason. Okay. Jelani Woods off the board at 186. Braylon Allen goes. So we're going to take Bryce Young. Super exciting. Super exciting. We're going to go Jalen Tolbert round 17. If we can. We'll see. Maybe it would have been safer to go with Jalen Tolbert first. Probably would have been. Hindsight's 2020. Jalen Tolbert's so far down the ADP list right now that if anybody takes him, I'm convinced they're just sniping for the stream. Greg Dortch goes, so Jalen Tolbert will be our guy here to pair up with Dak. And then our last quarterback is going to be Fields, Russ, or if we whiff on these guys, it doesn't even matter. We don't have any other potential stacks, so we would just take whoever falls at that point. But let me see. Have we hit 500 likes? Are we firing up another draft after this one? We have. So we are going to go ahead. We're going to get another draft here, ladies and gentlemen. We are just crushing Best Ball Mania drafts at the moment. I only have 52 more Best Ball Mania drafts we can do. So we are in here. 9 spots open if anybody wants to get in. This is redemption time. This is the first time we've done 3 drafts in a stream that are 30 seconds, I think, all offseason. Always happy to see you, Teresa. Always happy to see you. And dear God, I'm sorry I'm tired. Last night I stayed up till like 2 working on the draft guide. I am trying my hardest to get it done. I was planning on getting it done tonight, but that may be pushed to tomorrow. We're in here at 3. I see some familiar names. We have One Pride at pick 8. We have Waffle Taco out here at pick 11. I'm sure I'm missing someone too, so please let me know if you're in. Kadarius Toney in here at pick 8. Nick in here at pick 12. TGL pick 5. Waffle Taco pick 11. And yes, we get a decent spot. We're in here at pick 3. So we are going to hopefully be able to redeem ourselves for the pitiful performance that we just had. I have faith. I have faith. And let me remind you, because I know we have different people in here from when we said this previously. Please come to Austin, Texas, August 22nd for the meetup. Get your tickets now. flockfantasy.store. $15. There'll be free merch. There'll be half off beer. I'm going to be there. A ton of other fantasy football YouTubers are going to be there. Pretty much one of the biggest fantasy football meetups ever. So really hope I get to hang out with you. Really hope we get to talk some fantasy football. And yeah, you can find that link in the description. I will spam the link in the live chat right now as well, too. Okay. Now, after we take Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson off, so super standard board so far. Hopefully, it's not that way by the time we're on the clock at pick 22. Y'all saw what we had to do with it being a super standard board. In the last draft, we had to get a little bit unique going like Devonta Smith, Kyron Williams. Just because if you go 1-for-1 with ADP through the entire time, especially in the early rounds, you're just going to be duped by so many other rosters where I would rather have a little more leverage. So Garrett Wilson goes pick 9, AJ Brown pick 10. So the Wilson pick is a little unique. Hey, Miley, can you move, girl? Sorry, the dog's right under me. Let me try to get her to move real quick. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, girl. Get over there. You are in the way. Go, come on. Go. Get out of there. Okay, much better. Now I don't have to hurt my back. Ooh. Mike says, I want to build a Lions stack team, but it's so hard with their ADPs. So obviously I am one to just kind of take Vegas projections and assume that they are the best projections we are going to get. So I have a lot of Lions right now. The Lions are supposed to be the second best offense in the NFL. I'm at 19% Sam Laporta, 12% Jared Goff, 11% Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9% Jamison Williams, 9% Jahmyr Gibbs, 5% David Montgomery. And then I've taken Khalif Raymond once. So I am currently overweight Lions. And you know what we're going to do here? I'm going to take Justin Fields in another draft in round 18. Maybe we make the argument that Dak is just there to get us the points through the course of the season. And then Fields can give us the upside in weeks 15, 16, 17. So actually, we do get a little bit of a unique start here. We're going to get Chris Olave at 22, ADP 17. Shouldn't be too many Tyreek Olave combos. So I will be excited about that, and we'll see what makes it to us at 27. We will get Devonta Smith here as well. I mean, I actually really like this start. I think you can make an argument to go ahead and just take our guy, Kyron Williams, there at 27. But going with Smith, I think this is a very unique three-player combo out the gate, and it's going to give us a lot of flexibility later on. So at the 4-5 turn, we can go with our favorite stack. We can go Lamar Andrews. If that's not there for us, we can pivot over, and instead we can go with like Travis Etienne if Etienne falls to round 4. We could go Josh Jacobs in round 5. I just think going Olave and Smith at the turn gives us a ton of upside. Okay. Jamie says, would you wait for quarterback in a 10-team league? This is always something that I don't know the correct answer for. I think it kind of depends on your starting lineup requirements, where if you can only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, quarterback's going to make up such a high percentage of your starting lineup output from a week-to-week perspective that it probably makes sense for you to just go through, push quarterbacks up the board, and grab yourself an elite one. However, in the instance that maybe you have a little bit of a deeper starting lineup, we can go through and we can show that after your other league mates take their QB1, you can get a QB1 for essentially free at the end of the draft. So if we look at quarterbacks with ADP right now, we'd assume that your league mates, the 9 other people, take Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, Richardson, Stroud, Kyler, Burrow, Dak. And you could get Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Goff. Get 2 of those guys at the very end to just play waivers with. I'm sorry, not play waivers, just play matchups with. So 10-team league, I can see an argument to just go with where I don't want to be is in that 10-team league is I don't want to be in the middle rounds taking like the QB7, QB8, where I'd rather take an elite guy like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts early, or I'd rather just take 2 players like Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels at the very end. Okay. So let's move this over. Pickens falls in this draft room as well, similar to the other one. So the team at the end took Lamar Flowers, so we are unable to get the Lamar Andrews stack as we talked about previously. Let's see what's going on here. What are you doing? They go ETN. I would have really liked to get Travis Etienne. The issue with taking Mahomes here is I'm not going to take Hollywood Brown on the way back around. So I know this looks very weird, but I'm going to take Josh Jacobs at 46. The reason being is that team at 1, they took 3 running backs out the gate. So I don't know if they're aware of like what's going on. You could see them take a 4th and really throw off this room. And also, if I'm looking at the other player that I want, knowing that I'm not really over the moon about taking Mahomes, knowing we're not going to take Hollywood in the next round and Worthy Rice won't fall to us in round 6, is I'd probably want an elite tight end as well. And there are 2 teams between our selections, and there are 3 tight ends to choose from, and I'm fine if I get any of them. So I'm going to take Josh Jacobs at 46, and then take whatever tight end makes it back around to us at 51. See, this is what I'm talking about. That team at 1 just goes with their 4th running back in Joe Mixon. So if we would have passed on Jacobs, there's a chance that we wouldn't have even got him. We're going to go ahead. We will take McBride. McBride gives us the ability to go Kyler later on, where that could be interesting. We're obviously going Andrews. Lamar's already gone, and going Kincaid. Allen's already gone. Okay. So, yeah, I really like how he played the 4-5 turn, just given the context and the dynamic of this overall draft board. Okay. And I don't want to say too much because I really like my start, and I think we're going to be able to make this something special. Or I'm hoping we're going to be able to make it something special. We'll see. Okay. Chris Godwin goes. James Cook. All right. Interesting to see the Kyle Pitts selection. I have noticed Hollywood falling, which, I mean, I've been on record for a very, very long time now that Hollywood's not really draftable at his ADP. They're like, I have a Worthy and Rice ranked straight up over Hollywood. Like, Hollywood's the wide receiver 3 for me here, and he's been drafted as the wide receiver 1 by a wide margin. Like, let me see my exposures to these Chiefs guys. Yeah, I'm 13% Worthy compared to 4% Hollywood. I guess I took Kadarius Toney in a draft. I have no idea why that happened. Okay, Rome goes 63. I know who I want with our selection. I don't know if... Oh, this is something else. I've noticed Jaden Reed falling today. Is there a reason why Jaden Reed's been falling so much? Let me see how much Jaden Reed I have, because I feel like I've taken a lot of Jaden Reed. I don't know if it's going to show up because a lot of them are slow drafts. Yeah, I have 13% Jaden Reed at the moment. But is there a reason Reed's been falling? Sam Golding on the clock. Keon Coleman goes a pick 66. Not to the Josh Allen team either. Deontay Johnson goes 67. This is a team that has their 6th wide receiver now. DeAndre Hopkins goes, I'm going to get the guy we wanted. I'm going to get Kenneth Walker at pick 70. I really think this team at 1 that has drafted CMC, Achane, Henry, Mixon, they may end up where they probably shouldn't take another running back for a while. They may end up going with another RB and really throwing this room off. So I want to be prepared for that possibility. And I think we are prepared for that when we go Kenneth Walker there at 70. Kamara goes, I'm not a super big Montgomery guy here, so I'm actually going to go Brian Thomas instead. I think Brian Thomas, good quarterback play. To be honest with you, I think Christian Kirk's overvalued for Kirk's overall upside going in round 4. Brian Thomas, good prospect, good quarterback play. Think he has upside, especially spike weeks for weeks 15, 16, 17. We will go ahead and mix them in. Now, what we possibly should have done is we possibly should have just taken Kyler. Now that we actually sit here and think about this for a second. So now that we pass on Kyler for McBride, we're leaving ourselves just with Tua for Tyreek again. Don't want to take Carr with Olave. Jalen Hurts already gone for Smith. I guess taking Brian Thomas is okay in that we have the Lawrence pairing that we can go with later. Okay, CJ Stroud goes 78. So a team that took Nico Collins at 19. So they are really pushing 0 RB. Dak 79 to no CeeDee Lamb team, which honestly, I'm sure the CeeDee Lamb team's completely okay with, given the fact that they have Mahomes and Anthony Richardson. Okay, Najee Harris goes 81, Jordan Addison 82. Jameson goes. I actually really like our squad. Let's move this back around. And obviously there will be a ton of running backs to choose from on the way back around. The quarterback will be Burrow if we're interested. Probably won't be. We don't have Chase. We don't have Higgins. We could go Burton later on. We could go Gesicki later on. We could go with the running back and make an argument they're going to catch the ball. Probably not. So most likely we are just going to be going RB here. Like I've mentioned previously, typically when I take Jake Ferguson around 8, the reason being is I want to set ourselves up with Dak Prescott in round 9. But the thing is, in this draft, Dak Prescott's already gone, so Ferguson isn't as exciting. I think that possibly this team in the 8th round goes Jake Ferguson, because they took Dak in the 7th. So I think more likely, yeah, they go Ferguson. So more likely than not, our pick's going to be a running back here. Sam Golden, this is the team that's taken 6 wide receivers out the gate with CJ Stroud round 7, 0 running backs. They go Zamir White for their RB1. Okay. Sutton goes. Yeah, once Sutton's off the board, we're for sure not going to go wide receiver. Sutton's like the last receiver considering. I'm going to go Jonathan Brooks. I think Brooks, a phenomenal pick if you're looking for weeks 15, 16, 17 upside. I think this is a running back that you potentially don't have at the beginning of the season, which obviously is going to push his ADP down as it should. But I'm kind of okay with those risks for the upside we're getting. We'll go with Brooks, and then we'll take the gross old running back with Raheem Mostert immediately after. And then obviously it's going to be a team that we are targeting Tua. And if you look at where Jalen Waddle is, Jalen Waddle was taken by Jonathan. So unless they're going to reach on Tua by like 11 picks, according to ADP, where they already have Dak too, should be pretty safe to assume that we get Tua. And if we don't get Tua, we should be able to get Lawrence to pair it with Brian Thomas. Okay. Tony Pollard goes 101. I actually really like our team. Yeah, so right now, wide receiver, we have Tyreek, Olave, Devonta Smith, Brian Thomas. Running back, we have Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Brooks, Raheem Mostert. Tight end, we have Trey McBride. The big concern is, what does our quarterback room end up looking like? And Tony Pollard got some positive buzz here. And that team that went with no running backs in the first 7 rounds just took David Njoku in round 9 over some of the running backs like Brian Robinson. Okay, Caleb goes. Fine seeing Caleb get drafted, of course. I think the potential mistake that we've made with this draft so far is, I don't even want to say it's a mistake. Well, it is yet to be seen. It depends on what happens with quarterback in the rest of this draft. There's a shot that taking Brian Thomas instead of Kyler Murray was a mistake. Now, the thing is, we probably needed to go with a wide receiver in this range. So the one-off would have been like Kyler Murray and Joshua Palmer, or Brian Thomas and Raheem Mostert. Which actually is probably going to be better to compare it 1 for 1 when we get the quarterback. Okay. Antler Ice says, see you in a few weeks, bud. Nice road trip from Western New York. My guy, looking forward to seeing you. Antler Ice sent me an email saying that he's going to be at the meetup. He got a hotel in Austin and hold him a couple tickets. Did that, my guy. I got a list, and your tickets are being held. So appreciate you and looking forward to seeing you. Now, Jaden Daniels goes off 112. I would have been excited to get Daniels on the way back around, even with no Washington guys. We could have gone Dotson later on. Obviously, Daniels is the rushing upside where you don't need to have him stacked. Brandon Cooks goes 114. I'm assuming we see a running back pick here. I'm assuming this team goes Singletary. Maybe not. And if Shaheed makes it to us at 118, we could potentially go Shaheed and then set ourselves up a Derek Carr stack at the very end and go, what if we live in a magical world where Derek Carr is not bad? I don't know if that is too crazy to assume, but we'll see where Shaheed goes. Because if we get Shaheed here, 118, ADP 105, and we got the Olave falling value as well, we'll be a very unique build surrounding these Saints. We'll still at least get one more quarterback on the way back around between Lawrence and Tua. So, yeah, we're going to go Shaheed here, pair him up with Olave, and get the Shaheed Olave double stack. I think this will be very unique if you look at the way that their ADPs are lined up. And then whoever falls between Lawrence and Tua will be our selection at 123. We have Lawrence paired up with Brian Thomas. We have Tua paired up with Tyreek. Lawrence goes kind of expecting that. That was the team that took Christian Kirk. Okay. So we will take Tua. The Jalen Waddle team's on the other side of us. So if we were to pass on Tua, there's a very, very low probability that he does make it back. We at least need a quarterback, but this will be a 3-quarterback build, right? And when we go through and we decide that this is going to be the one team that we ever build where we say, what if Derek Carr's good? Which, like I said, he's probably not. But yeah, Derek Carr, we're going to take him round 17, round 18. So if we're going to wait till round 17 to take Derek Carr, it can't hurt to just go through and take a total of 3 QBs, especially if we get another tight end soon. Like if we get Luke Musgrave again with Trey McBride, then we only have to take 2 tight ends. I think it's an easy spot to take 3 quarterbacks. Okay. Mike says, Saints said F the future. Let's go be mid. Yeah, that's whenever I wrote the Olave profile for his draft guide, what's so frustrating is like you can look at all the advanced analytics for Olave, whether that's his intended air yards, whether that's his market share in this offense. And we can pretty confidently say that, oh, Chris Olave is a very good wide receiver. He's just been held back by a very bad offense. Pretty confidently say, oh, Drake London's a very good wide receiver, but he's just been held back by a bad offense. We can probably say, oh, Garrett Wilson's a very bad wide receiver, but he's been held back by bad offense. The thing is, if we look at the vast majority of those instances, they all change but Olave's. You have Aaron Rodgers, you have Kirk Cousins, and I don't know who the other guy we said is, but with Olave, you still have Carr, so it just sucks. Raphael says Spencer Rattler saves the Saints stacks. There's no way. It's just not happening, my friend. Okay. Kadarius Toney on the clock. What is he going to do? If we were to go running back, I think we could take 6 more RBs. If we're going to go with the 6 running back build, though, we probably don't want another running back anytime soon. So it's like a gray area here of what we're wanting to do. Like if we go Austin Eckler, do we want to take a 6th RB? If we do, it's probably not till very late. Okay, Sam Golden goes Eckler. Awkward spot. So we could go Leggett with this team, then all of a sudden say, oh, yeah, maybe we go Bryce Young, Derek Carr at the very end of this draft. Leggett goes. I do not know what to do here. We're going to awkwardly take Ty Chandler. The Ty Chandler pick at 142. I don't know. My thing is the quarterbacks don't make sense with Cousins, Stafford. The tight ends are decent in this range, but we only need one of them. There are 3 of them available. We're going to get one on the way back around. If we don't go Chandler or Lloyd, our next running backs we'll be looking at will be Jaleel, Vidal, Algier. So it's an awkward spot. Am I excited about it? Definitely not. But I think we're going to get a tight end on the way back around regardless, which does happen. We get Cole Kmet here, and we only have to draft 2 tight ends. I think it would have just been so much better if we would have had Leggett falling to us. It would have been a lot easier, because now that we take the 5th running back there, it's like you make an argument that potentially we need to be going with an extra receiver rather than a 6th running back. So I don't like the Chandler pick at all, but with that being said, I don't know what else we could have done. The tight end strategy works out exactly how it should. I don't know. Let's see. Torsten says you could go Stafford and get Demarcus Robinson on the way back around. Demarcus Robinson's best season of his NFL career, he's averaged like 6.3 points per game in a half PPR format. And he's 30 years old. He's played with some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Demarcus Robinson's not good. Like, general rule of thumb, don't draft a wide receiver that's never had double-digit points per game going into their age 30 season. So, I like the idea of trying to find a way to get unique about it, but yeah, Demarcus Robinson's just somebody that I'm not trying to go for. Okay. It is true we could have gone for the Octua combo. We could have. Kate says, I'm trying to slowly back out of my Johnson exposure down to 15%. I know. Like I said, I have an embarrassing amount of Quentin Johnston. I hate talking about it because I would never wish it on my worst enemy, which I got lucky that I did not draft Johnston last year. Because to be honest with you, I didn't think Johnston was a bad prospect. I thought he was a very interesting prospect coming out of TCU. His underdog price didn't really appeal to me last season. I didn't draft him. I got super lucky for it. But I thought, hey, breaks out at 18 years old, dominates true sophomore, declares true junior, goes round 1 to a great offense. Thought he was an interesting prospect. But I'm exactly 15% Johnson at the moment. Okay. But good news, I just checked my email, and we have another person that's bought a ticket to the Flock meetup. So, hell yes. I'm gonna give the people your name. I'm sorry. Hell yes, Steven. Thank you, Steven. Looking forward to seeing you at the Flock meetup, my guy. And if any of y'all are in Texas, the great state, I expect to see you at the Flock meetup. You are obligated to come to the Flock meetup. It is August 22nd, Austin, Texas, 6:30 p.m. Tickets are on flockfantasy.store. Links in the description, links in the comment section. I will be there. A ton of other fantasy football YouTubers will be there. A ton of people who like fantasy football will be there. Hopefully. We'll see. And yeah, like I said, I got the venue to agree to half off beer. I'm giving y'all free merch. So the $15, I know it sucks. I wish it could be free like in years past. I just need a way to tell the venue how many people are going to be there. Now, Mr. Pickle says, WVids, my best team may be Jefferson, Olave, Cup, Hurts, Terry, Rome, Montgomery, Warren, Dobbs, Brooks, Eckler, Kmet, Hawkinson, Chuba, Rodgers, Otten, Khalil May. It's interesting to go with the third quarterback there when you have Jalen Hurts. I don't hate it if your second quarterback is Rodgers. I like the team. I'm just not a massive Terry guy. So maybe that's my holdup on it. Like if you could have potentially got, say, Josh Jacobs with the Terry selection, I think I probably would have liked that a little bit more. Okay, well, let's move this around. We cannot go tight end anymore. Adam Thielen off the board. I think we may end up going Michael Wilson here. We need a receiver. No, Michael Wilson doesn't stack with any of these other options. Or we could actually, no. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go Michael Wilson. So we have 4 rounds left. We know we need 2 quarterbacks. I think we need 2 more receivers because our wide receivers now are Tyreek, Olave, Smith, Brian Thomas, Shaheed, Michael Wilson. I don't know if we can afford another running back. I think we're stuck with these 5. which these aren't 5 bad running backs. And we have Jacobs, Walker, Brooks, Mostert, Chandler. But yeah, this is a 5 running back build. So let's get rid of that. Jalen McMillan goes, I think we're going to be taking Roman Wilson, and we are going to set ourselves up with a Pittsburgh quarterback at the end of this draft. So now wide receiver, Tyreek Olave Smith, Brian Thomas, Shaheed, Michael Wilson, and Roman Wilson. Running back, we have Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Brooks, Raheem Mostert, Ty Chandler. Quarterback, we have Tua stacked up with Tyreek. We have Mostert as if that matters for it as well. And we are going to be taking Derek Carr to double stack Olave and Shaheed. Not exciting. It is what it is. And we are going to be taking Justin Fields or Russell Wilson to pair up with Roman Wilson. Okay. But Vidal goes 172. Hunter Henry off 173. What's very interesting is obviously Dobbins has been moving up a bit in these drafts, but Gus Edwards has fallen a ton. Not only has Gus Edwards fallen, but Vidal has fallen. Like, both these running backs are falling simultaneously. And I couldn't figure out what was happening specifically with Edwards at the moment. But it sounds like Harbaugh came out, said something regarding Gus Edwards having surgery this offseason and ramping himself up. Okay. Drew says Fields, that dude. I feel like I have a decent amount of Fields right now. The thing is, typically, if I'm going to go with the quarterback 3 where I feel like I have some quarterback upside elsewhere, with someone like Jaden Daniels, I'm fine with just going to go Russell Wilson if I'm looking at the Steelers options. But if I'm going with the QB3 where I don't feel like my first 2 quarterbacks have upside, like Tua and Derek Carr, I am mixing in Justin Fields. So right now I have 6% Justin Fields and 6% Russell Wilson. I have a decent amount of Steelers. Hopefully they're not that bad. We'll see. Okay. Margaret says, I think the Steelers are going to be a big sleeper this year. I didn't expect to see how many Steelers I've drafted, but they are reasonable price points. Roman Wilson definitely is a much better price now than he was previously. Like, I've been taking a lot of Roman Wilson as of late. The thing is, if you're looking at Fields versus Russ obviously, I don't want to say obviously, but Russ more likely than not would be a lot better for the receivers in the offense. And probably the running backs too. Just because Fields is going to monopolize so many of the points to himself on the ground. And it'd probably be a worse offense with Fields, if we're going to be honest. So I think if you're rooting for the Steelers to be good, your hope is in Russ. But if you're shooting for fantasy football upside, I think your hope is in Fields. Okay. So we can go with one more receiver here. Like I said, our selections of quarterback are going to be Carr and one of the Steelers guys. And we can get both of those players. That can be around 17, around 18 picks for us. Daniel Jones goes 187. If we wanted to shoot for upside instead of taking one of the Steelers, we could go Will Levis and Tyler Boyd at the turn. Levis goes. I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. I noticed that right before us that team only had one quarterback. We could go Marvin Mims and then instead go with Bo Nix over one of the Steelers options. Is there any warrant in doing that? Let's think about it. We know we want to take Derek Carr when we have both Olave and Shaheed. I have no Derek Carr. I'm a Derek Carr fan, not at all. But what would be better to just... You know what? We don't even have to make that decision right now. We can go Mims, and it just opens up another possibility for us at quarterback. Where then at that point we can go, okay, if we get Russ, cool. If we get Fields, cool. If we get Nix, cool. I kind of want to opt to going with the Steelers guys ahead of Bo Nix. Because what I like about taking the Steelers guys and J.J. McCarthy is they're not being drafted in every contest. So yeah, last pick's definitely going to be a QB. But let me show this off real quick. And I have to go walk that dog. She has been staring at me for an hour. But wide receiver, we have Tyreek, Olave, Smith, Brian Thomas, Shaheed, Michael Wilson, Roman Wilson, Marvin Mims. Running back, we have Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker. Actually, funny enough, 2 years ago when I won the $150,000 on Underdog, Jacobs was my most drafted running back. Kenneth Walker is my second most. Then Jonathan Brooks, Raheem Mostert, Ty Chandler. Tight end, we have Trey McBride, Cole Kmet. Quarterback, we have Tua stacked up with Tyreek. We also have Mostert, if that matters. We have Derek Carr double stacked with Olave and Shaheed. And we are going to be taking either one of the Steelers quarterbacks or Bo Nix with our last pick to pair up with Roman Wilson or Marvin Mims. But I'm going to pee myself. I'm going to go walk the dog. Dear God, we almost live for 2 hours. I am not used to doing this. I need to make sure that I get in live streaming shape relatively soon because this was taking the energy out of me. Embarrassing, to be honest. But appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending the night with me. And I really hope you'll be with me August 22nd in August, Texas for the Flock meetup. Thank you. Appreciate you. Really hope we get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow night.